so now you can see I dragged all my pictures over of all the artists that I've chosen for my soundtrack. And there's a bunch of pictures. And if we zoom in, I will show you real quick that there's a lot going on. So just to kind of go over a couple things that I did, you can see I ran some filters on some stuff. I used the magic wand tool in a cool way and just selected part of the background and dragged it over. I traced some things out. Here's a filter. I used the eraser tool so you could still see my hand. So, you know, although not complete, but for the sake of what I'm trying to do, it works really well. And don't forget, you know, you have all these layers down here. And you can jog them around. Like, for example, this was in front of that. So let's just take this one out here. We'll move it up so you can kind of see more of what's going on. I got a lot of layers going on. So now this is that Adobe Photoshop document that we talk so much about, that you need to really be aware of what layer you're on. So here's my layer. Every time I click on a picture, you'll see it jump to that specific layer. And then that box shows up because we clicked on that show transform controls. So let's say I want to put the Beastie Boys in front of this fella. So if you look, they're all the way up here at layer 11. They're all the way down here at 4. So I can just go over here and click and go all the way up, and you'll see how he just bumped right in front. And then, you know, move him over a little bit, you know, refine my edge, use that magic wand tool, get rid of that white background, and really spend the time, you know, to mess around with it. But like I said, moving all these layers around, you know, if I move it all the way up here, then I just cut their heads off. So it's all about jockeying for position and putting things where they belong for your image. So you can see here, there's a little bit of me. There's white background. Not a fan of the white background. So what you could do, and this is pretty neat, you could turn all your layers off because they have all these eyeballs here. So sometimes you can just click and see what you want to see. I'm going to turn them all off, right? And why don't I take this background and just fill it with a color? You could just fill it with black, blue, green, doesn't matter. You can use this gradient tool and you can click and drag and come up with some sort of a gradient like that. I'm just for the sake, I'm just going to fill it, make it easy. Fill it with the foreground color, which is black 100%. Oh, actually I had it the reverse way. So if I go edit fill, to foreground color to black. So it just makes it easier. Now watch, I drag all these over. It just gives it a more consistent type of background to it. But as I said before, you could use red, green, blue. Doesn't matter to me, as long as it matches the theme of what you're trying to do. And I could still go in and resize myself to still better fit inside this image, you know. And then I could go into these guys, use my tools here, just ever so slightly, you know, get rid of them in the background. Same thing here. Go find my thumb, my background. Okay. So I would go in a little bit tighter and, you know, lose that, not have that black part in there. And, you know, but for the most part, it looks like you're done. So next we're going to go over how to use your title and, you know, where to put it. Now, we use a couple different things here. When you're doing the titles, you're going to use, obviously you're going to use your text tool. So if you click on your text tool, you could do it horizontal, vertical. I just do horizontal, good old fashioned horizontal tool. So I'll click right here and you'll see it fills with these jumbled words. Let's just go big. And my initials, you know, I'm just going to use my name. So Fred MC, and my title is called My Crazy Life. Okay. Not my best work, but see, once again, if you check out the layer, it's not in the very front. So make sure you drag that all the way up to the top. And now you could put it at the bottom. Now, you know, just for basic, put it at the bottom, put it at the top. Now, I did this purposefully where even though I'm over top of the artist, it doesn't matter. It's their waists and arms and hands. So I can easily fit this here and have it look nice. But what's wrong with it? It's a little bit hard to read. So you could go in and just pick different colors. Does white work? Does green, blue? You know, that one works a little bit better. Doesn't really fit the theme of what I'm trying to do. So let's stay with green. Now, what else could you do? You could just put a box behind it. So if I draw this selection tool, right? and I go all the way back down to my background, and I could make a new layer with that black, and watch what happens. I'm going to drag all the way up to here. Actually, let's go down one and check out what I did. So I took that black color and just made a layer behind it and faded it. So now you can see it. Anybody could go in and just draw, whatever shape that they want to do. You could go in and you could darken your pictures and then just put that in the front. But, it's really just about thinking what you're going to do. And when using the text tool now, obviously, if the title's called My Crazy Life, it's kind of a boring font or typeface. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to click here. Now, there's a couple different ways you could do it. I actually like to use the window, and here it is. Just like kind of Microsoft Word. It shows you the font, size, color, underline, all that fun stuff, bold. So I'm going to go here and look. Now, on my personal computer, I have a lot of different fonts. And if you remember back in the beginning of the year, I showed you you can go on websites like 1001freefonts.com or Dafont, DAFONT.com. There's a lot of free fonts that you can download into your computer. And I've built up quite a library over the years. This is just a small kind of sample of what I have. But we could pick something a little bit crazy that kind of fits that crazy attitude. But you really can get lost in finding just a bunch of different fonts. So I think I saw something up here earlier, and this is and some fonts are great, some fonts aren't. But it's just a matter. I could use this cool graffiti font, shrink that down a little bit, and roll with that. It's a little bit bigger, but you can go and tweak the font size. You don't have to just go 48. Like I could type in 55, and then there's my font. So it actually fits in there pretty good, and it's fairly legible. It's a little crazy, but for the sake of this assignment, it works fine. So make sure you're consciously picking a font or type style that matches the theme of your album, and make sure it's in a good spot. Don't make, if I put it here, it looks terrible. It's over my face. It's over the artist's face. If it's over here in the corner for some reason off center, it just doesn't make sense. Okay, so if you're gonna run it diagonal or high or low, and I can sit here and do this whole kind of crazy thing like that, just have a good reason for it. You could put it here, but then you're gonna run into issues where you're cutting faces and stuff. So just make sure that you pick the right type style, the right color. If you can read it, great, but you have to make sure other people can read it. Show it to your parents, your friends, and say, can you read this? Does this look legible? Because right here, the word MC and my are very similar. So maybe this is not a good font choice. But, for the sake of this assignment, I have the front of my album done. Actually, I want to tweak one more thing here. Go over to this part. And for the most part, it's done. I could sit here and spend hours, messing with this, but I would definitely recommend to all the students, to all of you, when you think you're done and you save it, spend a little bit more time, that extra 15 minutes, just messing with it, because you're done, the pressure's off, and you could maybe move your pictures around a little bit here or there, but you might just be happy in the very end. And don't forget, you got to hit Command Save. You got to save this thing. And it's a Photoshop document because that's how we saved it in the beginning. Okay? So up next, we're going to lay out the back and then put them both together and show you how to upload it.